Hi, welcome to Supes On, a podcast where we review all things super family related in all forms of media. This is actually going to be the first part of a two-part podcast where we talk about the big crossover event on the CW. So today in this episode, we're going to be talking about Supergirl and The Flash. So if you haven't seen both of those episodes, there will be spoilers. I'd also like to announce that for the contest we announced last week, where you could win Supergirl on Blu-ray, we've received several emails and complaints about people's reviews not showing up on iTunes. So we're going to go ahead and leave it open through this Friday. And if you've tried to submit a review on iTunes, for some reason it wasn't showing up, apparently there's some sort of a delay. Hopefully that'll give time for that to appear. But if for some reason it's not, we've decided to open it up. You can just email us at soupsonpodcast@gmail.com. And give us, your name and whatever we need to get it shipped to you, and we will get you in the drawing as well. And we'll hold that drawing sometime this weekend, and that will be for Supergirl Season 1 on Blu-ray. But with that, I am Jeremy Bruner, one of your hosts, and joining me as always is John McBride,
your other host.
So with that, we're going to get into Medusa and Invasion. Medusa and Invasion. John, what are your thoughts in 20 words or less?
In 20 words or less, let's see. Let me count the words I will use to describe this. 1.
You have 8 words left.
Dang it. Even less words. This is an insta-take.
Yes.
After The Flash.
Well, semi-insta-take, yeah, after The Flash.
After The Flash. I watched Supergirl earlier today being the Tuesday. And I guess, in case you don't know, spoilers for everything.
Yeah.
So I think you should know that by now.
Yes.
If you've been following Supes On Podcast, and if you're listening to a podcast that happened after it airs, we're not going to just talk about, here's what might happen on The Flash.
And This is not just spoilers for Supergirl and The Flash. We're giving a blanket spoiler warning. We may talk about absolutely anything.
Yeah, and it's not a scene-by-scene breakdown, as some podcasts do. Nothing against those particular podcasts. It's just simply not our style. And one thing I want to bring up with that in mind is kind of random, but one of my favorite moments from Supergirl was at the very beginning. It was their Thanksgiving episode.
Yeah.
A little bit belated, but whatever.
As close as it could get, really.
And we hope all of our fans had an excellent holiday. A super holiday at that. And also, but one of my favorite scenes was Alex getting a little drunk.
Yeah. She did get a little drunk.
I'm thinking that in the fine tradition of characters getting drunk on CW shows, making an awkward moment. Specifically, like, I mean, how can you not think of Dawson from Dawson's Creek?
Well, that'd be WB, not CW.
Well, in the fine tradition of WB. And it was funny because, like, Wynn and James would be like, hey, maybe we should tell them about the Guardian.
I like how, like, everyone wants to tell Kara a secret. Like, Kara must have felt so good, and deservedly so. It's just like, Kara, I know you're so understanding. No, I know she's understanding.
Yeah.
Guys, you can all know she's understanding, because she is very understanding.
She is, even though Alex said she's not supportive.
I did like, there's even more Kara is so understanding in The Flash tonight when she's the only person that still trusts Barry.
I know. It's like, it's two very, I mean, of course, Kara heavy on Supergirl, but Kara heavy on The Flash, too.
I was very nice. It was very Kara and Legends heavy, so I was in heaven.
I was so much to break down here. I think, even though it's not like specifically a breakdown, but so much to talk about.
Yes.
So
let's try to talk about Medusa a little bit first. So we had the alien virus. So I know a lot of people were upset because they feel that the crossover bit on Supergirl was too little and it was billed as more of a 4-night event. Though we kind of knew that going into it if you watched any interviews or anything like that. What are your thoughts? Do you think the Medusa virus will come up at all during the rest of the crossover?
No, I don't think so at all. That thing is, they pressed pause on that story.
Yeah.
It seems like they already had their script written and they shoehorned the crossover in there at the last second.
Yeah.
I like the attempt at having the portals open up and stuff like that. That was nice.
Yeah, it was pretty cool.
Throughout the episode. So it wasn't like a complete shock. But again, you had to know that this is what it was going to be like. Is it disappointing? Sure. But I think we had a quality episode no matter what.
Yeah.
And we had a heck of a lot of Supergirl story to progress here.
For sure.
But, I would have liked seeing an all-out crossover. But, I guess who else do you need besides Supergirl? And in canon, in show, it's not like Barry and Cisco would come over and be like, hey, Supergirl, person I know,
Yeah.
you can come too. And I don't know, maybe just grab 3 random friends I don't know.
And it's not like even if they did, it's like she wouldn't be taking, like, who would she be taking? Probably her cousin, obviously.
Yeah, if they had time.
If they had time, which that was the other thing. It's like, hey, Supergirl, come with us. And she did, which is great. I would like to say for Medusa, it did settle one thing that we've had a poll on and we've talked about. Which couple would officially become canon first?
Technically first?
Yeah.
Do you consider, now you're talking about Maggie and Alex,
Yeah.
right? That's actual coupling.
Right.
It's not like Mon-El kissing Kara and none not remembering it.
No. Because you can kiss somebody and not be a couple.
I mean,
It's happened in the history of humanity.
in the humanity, yeah. It was a very big moment for Mon-El kissing Kara. I think that was handled really well.
Yeah.
I like that a lot.
Yeah.
And briefly going back to how Kara, if she had a little bit more time, she probably would have been like, hey, why don't I call Martian Manhunter?
Yeah.
Why don't I call Superman?
He was busy fighting off becoming a white Martian.
Yeah, and so
maybe not him.
maybe not John Jones, but she would definitely be like, hey, let me get Clark on the case. And
Let me get Mon-El.
Mon-El, maybe. She
Oh,
would
well.
possibly, he's like, well, he's recovering.
Yeah, I guess Martian Manhunter was recovered at that point, too.
So maybe she's like, Mon-El isn't trained enough, whatever, but definitely Superman.
Yeah.
And this is, I mean, if you have a problem with that, you have a problem with every single episode of Supergirl, because to me, it's like, okay, Clark is busy and the show's not about him, but these things are major events. I'm like, you can't just say, hey, why don't I tell Cal?
I disagree on a lot of it because I feel like if she was like, I need to go tell Cal, that's almost showing that she has self-doubt in herself. She doesn't have the self-doubt like to have to do that. Like, she knows she can handle it.
Yeah, which is awesome. And I was thinking about this earlier today. We don't really have any specific social agendas. We just talk about this show.
Right.
You know, I mean, it's cool that she has the girl power, but we just really talk about Supergirl as a show, I guess. But that being said, I understand all that, and I think it's awesome.
Oh, I'm not even saying anything about girl power. I'm just saying her as a person, though.
Well, the
I'm
thing
just
is,
saying,
to
like,
me-
I mean, like, I have stuff. If I have stuff that comes up at work that might be major, I'm just going to do it myself, unless it's something that I don't think I can handle.
To me, this is such a planetary threat, at least for maybe a national threat or something.
Oh, for Medusa specifically.
Specifically.
But I was just saying, because you were saying for every episode.
Well, I mean, maybe not every single episode.
Yeah.
But you have Luthor's being evil. You have the Medusa threat. This is big enough. She is like, it's just, I mean.
So here's my argument on this episode then. I'm just like to play devil's advocate here. So she knows how Clark is about the Luthors. Maybe she doesn't, because she doesn't believe Lena's involved, she doesn't want to bring Clark in, who's going to further damage that relationship.
Yeah, and it's opening up a can of worms if you mention Superman every episode.
Right.
So I get that, but I'm just thinking, if there's any shred of realism, you would tell Clark. You know what I mean?
Right. Makes sense.
Speaking of Lena, I was so happy that she didn't turn out to be super evil. Because at first, when the swerve started, I was like, Lena's just evil, kind of at the drop of a hat here. You know?
Right.
And but I was like, oh, she played a trick on her mom. So I was like, awesome. And we did get a lot of, at least what I thought, maybe it's because we watched all of Smallville, but I'm thinking I'm getting a lot of Lex and Lionel here.
Right.
It's like the same dynamic.
Yeah.
It's like, well, we kind of get the female answer to that, which makes sense. It is Supergirl. Not that that's the whole point of this podcast, is she just the female version of Superman, which, you know, technically, yes, I guess, but she's very much her own character, but definitely some parallels, which I enjoyed. I kind of missed, maybe it's because I just missed John Glover being Lionel Luthor. I don't know.
Yeah. So I did love the Lena swerve. I feel like, I hope they don't have her go evil eventually. I just want a Superman, Supergirl, some sort of super something where a Luthor is good and it not being an alternate reality.
Well, she is an orphan. They pointed that out, and
that's true.
She's definitely not a Luthor by blood, so.
Hey, maybe she is. Maybe she was adopted because she was Lex's father's illegitimate child he had with somebody else, and then he arranged to have her adopted.
In this, have they said, is the father dead? His line, I guess it'd be Lionel.
There hasn't been any mention of him, which I don't think there's been need of having a mention of him.
Not really. It
would have been sort of an awkward. I don't feel like it would have ever come up naturally.
And, I was thinking about this as I was watching the episode. I was like, well, you got Superman. And once you have Superman on Supergirl, all doors are open, all bets are off for characters appearing.
Right.
So I'm like, why not have Lex Luthor on this show? It's more of a Superman thing, so I get that. But I'm thinking like maybe one episode, just have Lex. And even though Michael Rosenbaum does not seem like he's interested in coming back.
It would be awesome, though.
It would be sort of a fan dream.
It would be sort of neat to, it would be sort of neat if we did have a Lena, like Lena and Lex almost, even though I don't want Lena to be evil. It'd be awesome if there was some crazy thing that happened, even though I don't know what this would be, if Lena and Kara were teaming up to stop Lex and Clark somehow.
That would be nice. That would be awesome.
But
I would enjoy that.
I feel like we're just speculating for no reason. Let's actually talk about Medusa.
And what I found interesting in this episode was when Kara found out her birth father
created Medusa. That was really big.
I like that. And it fits with her family kind of being shady.
Being good, but in bad ways.
And it actually fits all of Krypton for being sort of
corrupt. Not really. Well, I mean, her dad wasn't really corrupt.
I mean, he wants to save Kryptonian lives. So it's like, well, how can you fault him? But
right.
For that specifically or in general, whatever. But he did I don't care. I'm going to kill aliens.
Right.
Other aliens. I don't know. I know he's on Krypton, so I don't know why he'd say other aliens. But,
did he say other aliens?
No, he didn't. That's just how I put it. It would be hilarious. I know from somebody watching, I'm an alien, whatever. But it did kind of fit Krypton's mentality, which has stayed constant throughout the decades.
I did like that they pointed out that the reason Mon-El wasn't killed was because Daxam biology is so similar to Kryptonian.
Yeah.
But what I want to know is, I feel like would this gas have killed humans? Because they never even specifically said we've altered it or anything.
I thought that's what Cadmus did.
That's what I assumed, but was it actually said?
And
if so, at what minute and second marker?
That's for the Supes On fans to tell us. Email us at soupsonpodcast@gmail.com.
Yes.
Or maybe tweet at us, soupsonpodcast at Twitter or at Twitter. That's the address. Because we know how Twitter works.
Yes. Tweet.
At soupsonpodcast. That also on Instagram. But I believe they said something like that.
And if so, how do they know? This is just me going on my little rant. If they did change it, how do they know it's not going to kill Supergirl? Because you can go Supergirl because it won't affect you. It's like, well, if Cadmus modified it, maybe it will.
And that's another thing. If Cadmus did indeed want to kill all aliens, wouldn't their big thing be like, hey, especially if Hank Henshaw has anything to do with it,
right?
I would like to go Supergirl as well, please.
Exactly.
That's what I would think Hank would be saying.
Hank, you can talk at the next meeting. Right now, we're concentrating on killing all.
One thing about costuming that I
know what you're going to bring up here. I'd like to preface something with it first.
Okay.
So last night they knew it was going to be a big episode for Supergirl.
Yeah.
It was the crossover episode.
Yes.
They knew it. We have the ability of, since we're doing this on Tuesday, Supergirl had about 1 million more people watch it live on Monday night, live to the 5 hours later by DVR than normally watch. It had 1 million person rating boost. Same thing happened last year with the crossover. And I feel like in both of the crossovers, they have made major costuming mistakes, which may not be the best for those type of episodes.
Well, what I'm referring to specifically, and not that I'm disagreeing with that, but I remember watching this episode of Supergirl hating Hank Henshaw's faceplate because I didn't realize that was something he did cover his face. I thought it was just B-movie level, supposed to look like a robot's face.
Yeah.
Then he removed it. I'm like, okay, that looks a little better.
No, and that's exactly my point, though. When he removed it, it looked better, and that was because it was CGI, and obviously they probably didn't have the budget to have it CGI the whole time, and that's why they had that awful-looking plate. But that awful-looking plate was on there almost the whole episode. And last year it was with the Banshee, which I always felt sort of Banshee looked like a girl who just dressed up for Halloween.
And she did. She did. There was no like physical transformation. She just decided to color her hair, wear a
right.
wig.
So I feel like in both crossovers, there's been major costuming things that they don't normally have in Supergirl. Normally, the costumes in Supergirl are really good.
We're still no step closer to figuring out why exactly the real Hank Henshaw decided to call himself Cyborg Superman.
It makes sense.
I mean, it was acknowledged because Kara was like, you may be a cyborg, but you're no cyborg Superman. I'm like, that sounded kind of corny, but it was true.
Well, I mean, it makes sense for him to call himself that. Like, he's super powerful. He now has heat vision. He has all that. I mean, if you lived in that universe, you would probably be comparing yourself to Superman. And he's a cyborg.
It seems like a...
Oh, it's forced, but it makes sense.
It's so forced.
But it makes sense.
Like, to me, it's like the same thing if John Jones decided to temporarily call himself White Martian Manhunter or something. I don't know. It just seems like I'm Cyborg Superman. I'm like, you can call yourself Cyborg because he went by Cyborg, at least for a while.
Right.
Simply Cyborg. And I guess someone in DC realized, oh, yeah, that Teen Titan who called himself Cyborg has also been existing for years.
Right.
Or Eradicator. He has choices.
Well, I won't get into it, but you're incorrect with the term for Eradicator, as that was a different Superman.
That Eradicator was something, he could still call himself Eradicator. I don't know.
He can call himself Cyborg Superman, and he does.
And he does. He could call himself White Martian Manhunter. Just be super confusing, and no one's happy. Let's see. We got a little more backstory from Mon-El with a weird space alien searching for Mon-El.
Yeah, so what's your theory on that?
My theory is, man, I watched that and it happened really fast. So it has to do with, of course, with what Mon-El is going to reveal to Kara.
Which you had a poll, right?
I did a Twitter poll. Now, my theory as far as my theory as far as what that was, I don't really know. To be honest with you, I'm not sure. It's just aliens on the hunt for Mon-El. But in regards to our Twitter poll, to see what you guys think, on Twitter last week, I tweeted out on at Supes on Podcast, what's Mon-El's secret that he was about to tell Supergirl? The choices I gave you was he's a Daxamite prince, he's part of House of L, his family was evil. I try to go across the board here, give you a variety of choices. Nobody thought his family was evil, which, okay, it's fair. 20% thought he's a part of the House of L, and of course you would think that because his name is Mon-El. Good grief. And 80% think he's a Daxamite prince, which I gotta say I do as well.
I don't. What I think is something that wasn't on your poll. I think the prince didn't tell him to take the pod and go. He literally stole it from the prince, abandoning him. He wasn't part of the prince's royal guard or anything. He essentially is, because of what he did, a Daxamite criminal. And I think the people that are searching for him might be some of the last remaining Daxamites trying to get revenge for the person who caused their royal lineage to be destroyed.
I'm trying to get after Largand.
Yeah.
I really hope this does lead to the fact that his name is Lar.
That would be nice. Because he could, he might have been, it's not like, he is obviously doing good things, but his storyline to me feels more like somebody who was a bad guy who's becoming a good guy. And so maybe he was a bad guy on Daxamite.
I think it's very, very possible. And I was really, really enjoying, everybody had great performances, of course, but I was really enjoying Mon-El's performance here. Jolly Thanksgiving. I thought it was a little bit too much. He was like, I'm the alien fish out of water, but
I like the stuffing joke.
I'm like, that's a little too cartoonish, but I have a soft spot for that, so I enjoyed it thoroughly, even though I'm like, that's so stupid. I don't think even somebody like him would do that. But
well, speaking of the Thanksgiving scene, we also got to see Helen Slater, the movie Supergirl, come back as Eliza.
Eliza, very nice to see her back. And if you want to, of course, catch our Supergirl 1984 review, that's in our past archives in the previous episode section
at supesonpodcast.com.
Yeah, and very much, and of course the shippers out there, like you said before, the Maggie and Alex thing.
Yes, official now.
Official.
So congratulations to everybody in our Twitter poll who chose Maggie and
you chose correct,
Alex, which was, I think, the majority of people.
That is true. Now, do you think Maggie's going to die as a result of this?
I hope not.
I don't think she's going to die, but I just think this relationship is doomed.
I mean, it's TV, so it's either gonna end one of two ways. Either they're together for the rest of the series, or it'll end after one season.
Hopefully they stay.
Because a lot of shows will have that one couple who get together, and then they become like the married couple essentially.
I don't think Mon-El and Kara are meant to last at all.
No.
And I also liked how Eliza accepted the news. She was like, "Yeah, you're gay, and my stepdaughter's an alien." I mean, honestly,
yeah.
This is the most normal thing that's happened in this family,
Right?
So I thought that was very, very nice. I thought that was a nice little touch.
So we got to see, it was another episode, however, without freeze breath.
No freeze breath, which sucked. Saw some heat vision. She heated up the turkey, which was nice.
I always love things like that.
That was cool. We saw some super strength in the fight with Cyborg Superman. And
we specifically saw super speed, kind of, but I was just wondering about the super speed. So when she was chasing the missile, like, she had trouble catching up with it. And I was like, I felt like she should be faster.
Well, it's funny, even in Tonight in the Flash, like, Kara's just as fast as I am. Maybe running, maybe not flying.
Maybe.
I don't know how that would make a difference, but maybe it does.
Yeah.
She definitely used some heat vision.
For sure.
And that security robot in the Fortress of Solitude bought it tonight.
It did.
Or last night, I should say, but it was done for. So if you had a soft spot for Telex,
I had a soft spot. Clark can repair him. He'll be back better than ever.
One of the Superman robots will be there to repair him. So, very nice episode of Supergirl. Very fun. Not so big on the crossover, but we did get the Barry and Cisco at the very end.
Very, very end. And of course, Cisco had to point out we're not friends.
Yeah, Cisco was very quick, so to speak, to point out, like, hey, person I don't know, I just wanted to let you know that this guy's not my friend. I'm like, Kara's like, okay.
Right. And so I feel like we're kind of transitioning now to getting ready to talk about the Flash.
We're going to speed into it.
But I would like to, before we do that, can we go ahead and we talked about powers used. I don't feel there's any inefficient use. Did you and Medusa?
Not really. Nothing that really stood out to me.
So why don't we do a Supes on for Medusa specifically? Especially, and to me, I feel this might be the most important Supes on we've had. Because like I said, there was 1 million people that normally don't watch Supergirl that watched it. Yeah. This was the thing where if it was Supes on or not makes a difference.
I think, to me, I'm going to go with Supes on for this. I think she was a symbol of hope. She was strong. She was powerful, smart. Like we just said, I didn't see any actual specific instance of her being dumb. She was friendly. I mean, everything you want Supergirl to be, she was in this episode. And in case you don't know what Supes on or Supes off even means, what that means simply is did the story help her hurt the character? Was she just a clone of Clark Kent? Did she...
if someone who wasn't a fan before, could this have changed their mind?
And this is why we say it's that much more important.
Right.
So what did you think? What is your final verdict for Medusa?
So I agree with what you were saying. I do feel like she showed being a beacon of hope. I think she showed vulnerability, and the fact with Mon-El, it definitely showed more like a softness side to her character. I like the fact that it showed that she was showing sort of like integrity or backbone by standing up to Jon and Alex and them about Lena. Like, no, it's not Lena. And, ended up showing that she was right, showing that she was a good judge of character. I would say overall it was Supes medium to Supes on. I feel like it did a very good job, but I would say that for the most part it did. She was her own character, it did all that. It's the converting people that I'm not sure it could have done.
Yeah.
And that's because while I feel this was a great episode, it was an above average episode, but it wasn't one of the best.
Like you're saying, if people who tune in just for the crossover, would they tune in next week?
Right.
Who normally wouldn't.
And I think it might get some new viewers, but I don't think it's going to be as much as it could. Like, for example, if, like we've been talking about all this whole season, the premiere episode this season was really on point.
Yeah.
Did a fantastic job.
First two episodes.
if the crossover had been paired with one of those somehow, like it came in at the end of that, I feel like we could have had, thousands or tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands. We could have had tons of new fans that might tune in every week. I feel like with this one, you're going to get some, but I feel like knowing that they knew this was going to be the crossover episode, it could have been better. But that's just me being harsh on it. I do think it was an above average episode. I thought it was really good. I would still say it's Supes on. If I had to decide between Supes on and Supes off, I would say Supes on.
The only real issue here, it's advertised heavily as the crossover episode.
And there was hardly any crossover.
While this was a good to great episode of Supergirl as a crossover show.
True.
And you have one quick scene at the end.
And that quick scene was essentially shortened slightly, and then also in The Flash.
Which really hurt it in The Flash as we transition. To be honest with you, we hope you did watch Supergirl, but for the crossover, you didn't really need to.
Nope. The
honestly,
Flash showed you what you needed to know.
And which is like, is that them just being, hey, we want to tell the story in the least confusing way?
Unless they do end up surprising us all and using Medusa to defeat the Dominators.
Which would, I don't think it's going to, it would be nice, but I think the Legends do something.
I agree. It would be it would be very awesome, but I agree with you. I don't necessarily think it's going to happen.
I think with this episode of Supergirl would have benefited if you had Mon-El and if you would have had John Jones interacting with Cisco and Barry or something.
Yeah, if Cisco and Barry had come in at the beginning and had been around the entire episode, and it was an alien killing disease, so Barry actually got to do something maybe, or teamed up. It could have been,
because on The Flash, everybody was in this. It was just going all over the place, and it was excellent. One of the series' best. It was so fun.
It was very, very fun.
And Supergirl, it was just, we had this Medusa episode. Let's just throw it at the end, and it's on Monday. It's at the beginning.
I mean, it was a very strong episode. Just
technically, the crossover began on last week's Legends, but
that is technically true. So let's now talk about the big crossover invasion. Very Supergirl heavy, which was nice.
Yeah, which is actually, while we talked about this on Monday night, may not have helped Supergirl or fans who normally don't want Supergirl.
Right.
This could help people.
I agree.
This could maybe make up for this could be like, hey, I like Supergirl. I'm going to catch your show. So I didn't watch last night because, frankly, I didn't have to.
Right. I did love her training everybody and basically just being all powerful and not even having to move. Just like, show me what you got.
Yeah, and Ollie was strong. Everyone's character was well written. There wasn't anybody who was off.
No. I do feel sort of like you just sort of mentioned. I feel Oliver was the strongest in the crossover.
Which
Flash
to me
episode
is like very fitting. It's like the Arrowverse. I mean, you could say the Arrowverse is here because of Smallville or whatever, but it's because season 1 and season 2 was so strong of Arrow.
Right.
We have what we have now. Something, of course, Ollie's going to be the most experienced and the strongest character. He even basically telling Barry how to lead them, which I thought was a fun scene.
It was very fun.
And
I love Sarah. Are we just supposed to pretend like we don't hear him?
Everybody, it's pretty much like the best parts of a comic book crossover brought to life.
Right.
Because it was fun. It was funny, but not like too slapstick. Like this is just full on comedy.
Right.
And it was such a smartly written show. To me, this particular episode and much of this whole series with the whole Arrowverse is like a reaction to previous shows where they don't really interact, and it is sort of like, I'll appear in this one episode as a character, but I won't mention anything else. No, this had things happening from Legends, from Arrow, on Flash.
Right.
And not so much Supergirl. Supergirl was there.
Yeah.
But she wasn't like, hey, this reminds me of this other thing that happened on my show.
Right.
Because she didn't really need to. And that's because her show is on Monday, and there's not much you can do about that.
Well, she did say, though, that she did bring up the whole fact that the Dominators had attacked her planet before. And
that wasn't anything specific to what's going on in the actual series.
No, it wasn't. I will say the only part of this crossover I feel that I'm not going to like, based off everything I've seen so far, and I kind of mentioned it, is Cisco. I'm just tired of his poutiness.
You're tired of him, like, I'm angry. And we discussed this a little bit as during the our live viewing of The Flash, where it's like, we get it. We know you're upset that Barry changed the timeline, but this is not a life you knew. So I don't know how upset you can get.
Oh no, I feel like he'd be very upset, and I even understand it, especially when it's talking about the death of somebody that was close to you that you loved.
Well,
like
it was a selfish act from Barry.
It was a selfish act from Barry for sure. It was a selfish act from a close friend that caused the death of somebody you loved. I can understand being super upset with Barry, never even forgiving him. It's not out of character at all. I just don't like it. I feel like it's focusing on it too much.
Do you feel like it's lasted a little bit too long?
It's no, really. It could last for the rest of the freaking series and be justified. He killed his brother, but I, as a viewer, am not enjoying it, and so I would rather it just go away.
Well, I'm glad it's not being ignored, because and not to say it was ever truly ignored at any point, but it did seem like the focus was drifting away from the fact that Barry changed the timeline,
right,
to a point where they were like, this is just the status quo. I'm happy that it didn't just go away entirely, because it was starting to drift, and I'm thinking, no, this is a huge deal, which leads me to, because I had drifted away from the fact that my thought that Barry's going to attempt to change things back, which he said he can't or won't, whatever.
Right.
It leads me to believe now that he might try to do something again. I don't know.
I don't think he will.
I don't know what he'd gain from that.
No, I don't know that there is anything to gain. Maybe, who knows? If they do, I don't know. It'd be interesting.
But I did like how the legends brought up, we try not to change. Well, they do, but they say they try not to.
Yeah. But they're also not changing. They are changing events that could affect them completely, and they don't even know it.
But it's not for selfish personal gain.
It's not for selfish personal gain. But it was funny that it was Sarah that said that, since up till like an episode or two ago, she'd been trying to kill Dark to save her sister.
But the thing is, that was her whole personal arc where she came to terms with the fact. So
I just felt like it could have been more strongly delivered by somebody who hadn't this season been trying to do exactly that.
I think it makes sense, because White Canary was like, I just overcame this
thing. I just accepted this.
And so now to have you come along and do this, another White Canary-ism is she sees a woman. She has like, I think she's hot because I'm a lesbian. It's like on Supergirl, we talk about how
respectful and well done.
Respectfully, they handle the lesbianism. That's a word, right? And White Canary's like, I'm a lesbian. I like girls.
Yeah, she is a bit hypersexualized on there.
Like,
I did also. It was very obvious that this crossover was written before Legend season was, for sure, because it's like, why aren't Vixen and Steel there? Oh, they stayed behind on the ship. It's like, really, it's probably because this was written before they knew for sure that they were going to be characters.
Wow. And until you just said something, I didn't even notice they were gone. Which maybe that says something about their characters, or just, I don't know. There was so much other stuff happening, but But we got the main legends.
But
the thing is, it's the Flash. So you're going to have Joe and Iris and Wally doing his speeding, wanting to be a hero.
I did love that for Wally. The first time he tries, he got hurt, because it might actually show, hey, you need to learn some stuff first.
Yeah, I love how he wants HR to train him. I'm like, HR, who they know is worthless.
Well, he's not worthless. He inspires others. He's inspirational.
And I love HR this season.
I do too.
But one of the things I love is that he is useless.
Yeah.
And Wally's like, I want you to train me. I'm like,
I really hope his museum idea just ends up being the Flash Museum. I hope the Flash Museum.
Yeah, that would be awesome. And speaking of iconic buildings, we saw the Hall of Justice tonight.
Yes, what will most likely become the Hall of Justice, based off. And you know which Hall of Justice it's based off of, where that was originally seen?
Famously on the cartoon?
That was where it first originated, that design.
Yeah, and it's just like, I mean, there probably is some other version, but why would you use it? I mean, honestly.
Right. And then, between that and then later getting the Legion of Doom, in Legends, we're gonna have it's gonna be Super Friends all over. And the cover of Entertainment Weekly even showed Barry, Oliver, and Kara, and it said Super Friends.
So it's so much fun, and we got, because it's the Flash, we got the Flash characters. So
yes,
it's like the same reason we didn't get Wild Dog and Ragman, because it's not Arrow. That's for tomorrow.
Right. Well, maybe
not.
We'll see. I will say this made me just think about, if Supergirl could have brought one character with her from her show, I wish it would have been Wynn, because I would have loved to have seen Wynn, Felicity, Caitlin, Cisco, like all of the tech people. But at the same time, they have way too many tech people.
Yeah, and it would have been just, to me, like the scene where Supergirl is getting all the names of everyone. And shout out to Speedy for coming back for this episode.
Yes, I loved her reasoning too, because it's so great. I mean, come on, it's aliens.
She's like, yeah, she just up to this point choosing not to be Speedy.
Right.
There's no reason she can't just be Speedy. But it would have taken that scene, it would have been taking it that next level, just a hair away from being ridiculous. You know what I mean? It's like, okay, now we have Wynn here. Maybe if she had time, I don't know. It goes back to if she had time, she would have picked Superman.
We're saying if she had time,
which she didn't.
They write this episode. If they wanted to have somebody else, they would have been with her when she was walking into her apartment.
Right. It would have been like James in his Guardian suit just happened to be there.
Well, it wouldn't be that, because that would be way too much. But it could have easily been Hank Henshaw was with her and they were just talking about the White Martian thing. It could have been.
Speaking of James in the Guardian suit, I guess I missed something, but Alex knows about the Guardian, and I just completely forgot about that.
Yeah.
Wynn
told her after not being tortured at all.
I forgot about that scene where Wynn totally caved and was totally spineless.
Yeah. Spineless Wynn.
So, Winless. And I'm still shipping Wynn and Lena, even though I have no reason to.
They had that one moment under the table.
One moment. I had somebody on Twitter saying, like, why? I'm like, I just want this to happen. I don't need a reason to
there are Alicia and Clark.
Well, let's see. This is part one of our two-part crossover episode. So we still have Arrow and Legends of Tomorrow.
Well, do you want to talk about the mind control stuff?
The mind control stuff was very excellently done.
We always have, it seems like whenever there is a team up, there's always a point where the heroes turn against each other. So they got that out of the way.
I enjoyed that, and it was very well done. And so this leads me to what I think we're going to talk about a lot in part two of our coverage of this, is how Arrow may or may not be managing its time well, or maybe not.
Yeah.
Because the preview and everything says Arrow is going to be some type of shared hallucination.
Right.
We will see, but we are not big fans of this particular type of episode.
Right.
It sounds like it's not going to be as bad, but to me, this type of thing, especially this crucial crossover, we have precious, crucial airtime. I'm just thinking, is this the time to do it?
We'll see. Maybe it'll be better than we expected.
Hopefully it ends up being better. I'm thinking it's essentially a dream sequence episode that you can take or leave.
And I guess also tomorrow we'll find out if Ragman and Wild Dog and them were already, they knew for a fact they were going to be characters when they wrote the crossover, or if they're using the fact that it's a shared hallucination to prevent them from needing to be in the episode at all.
Well, Wild Dog appears in the trailer.
Oh, did he?
Yeah, in the preview.
Oh, okay.
So that's good news for Wild Dog fans. So, and it's also going to be interesting. Hey, you know what? Anything to get Deathstroke back, honestly.
Yeah. All right. Well, so be sure to tune in for our second part, which will come out next Tuesday. And we will be talking about, of course, Arrow and Legends of Tomorrow. And if you still want to enter the contest, rate and review us on iTunes. If you do have issues with that appearing, feel free to email us at soupsonpodcast@gmail.com. John, you have any final thoughts?
Well, I just want to encourage everybody to email us and still review us and rate us on iTunes. And you can do it on mobile as well. We'll bring up iTunes on your smart device, on your iPhone or whatever, and you bring up and you look. You search iPhones. You search for Supes on Podcast, I should say. You may subscribe to us, and I hope you do, but you still want to search. And once you search for us by looking up Supes on, you can search for us and you can leave us a review. You can rate us, leave in your email address. And again, you don't necessarily have to do that. You can just email us at soupsonpodcast@gmail.com. Follow us on Twitter and Instagram at soupsonpodcast. And I'm looking forward to part two of this crossover coverage.
All right. Well, thank you, and y'all have a great week.